Welcome, everyone. This is an important lesson, and it is the last step before getting into the interviewing module. Um, this is basically the way that we're going to cut the line and the way that we are going to get ahead of 400 applicants. I don't care how much competition there is, we're going to land an interview. And it doesn't matter if you come from sales or not. It doesn't matter if you have less qualifications than others. I guarantee that this will help you land more interviews. And so I've decided to call this the surefire method because it is surefire. And with strategic messaging, we will get a response and land an interview. So I'm excited to share more. Just a quick intro of what we're going to go into. The problem with traditional job applications, power of cold emailing, and then how you can craft the perfect cold email that'll get a response. So what's happening right now at the time of this video? The current economic climate is tough, particularly in the tech industry. And so a lot of job postings as a result are highly competitive, and each one has somewhere between 200 to 400 applicants. That's insane. And it's really difficult to compete with that. And what ends up happening is that if you submit a resume or a job application to any role, you're basically in this pile, this big stack of resumes, and you're in the same stack as everyone else. So, how can we ensure that you are not in that stack and that you're not competing with those 400 other people and that you have a way of getting noticed? That's what we're trying to do here. That's how we're going to be able to break into tech sales no matter how difficult, no matter how much competition there is, or get an interview with any company or any role that we want. This is the way. Stuff is powerful. I'm not joking. So tune in. So again, the problem with the traditional job applications is that in the past, what you had to do pre-internet ages is you would physically hand in your application or physically go to the office and hand in your resume. Obviously, now there are softwares and tools where you submit that online. And so the thing is that submitting online is easy. And all you have to do is upload your PDF resume and wait. And that's it. That's all you had to do. And you can do that over and over and over again. And so everyone is doing that. Everyone is just applying, and that's it. And so they'll submit the resume and then they'll wait. And so, again, in this economic climate, and let's assume that at all times, any role that you're going for is going to be highly competitive. And so, how can you differentiate yourself? And that's where cold emailing is going to come into play. By sending a cold email, we essentially are sending a message directly to the people who matter. We're putting our application right in front of their eyes by sending them a cold email. And so, look, it is the age of the internet. We can find their emails, we can find out who the hiring manager is. And there is no need for us to wait for them to come to us. We can go to them. It's really that simple. We can go to them. And so by crafting a compelling cold email where we sell ourselves, we'll essentially grab the attention of the SDR manager or the recruiter and land the interview. And again, nobody else is really doing this. A lot of people have this belief that sending someone a message out of the blue is invasive or it's unwelcomed or it's an interruption. But in the business world, again, sending a cold email is a fundamental way of doing business. Email is a fundamental way of doing business, whether or not you know the person sending you the email. And so it's actually a really welcomed way of standing out, particularly in the sales organization. And so a response becomes inevitable. And here's the template. You don't need to write this down. You don't need to take a screenshot. I'm going to add it here to this module. And really, it's a proven template. You can copy and paste it. All I need you to do is fill in this highlighted portion where it says, here are a couple of bullet points on where I can add value to the SDR team. That's really your opportunity to sell yourself and to brag. And I'm going to teach you how to craft these bullets in a way that will appeal to the hiring team. But essentially, yeah, this is the template. You just copy paste it, send it in an email, boom, you land the interview. You cut the line. And so, how do you write effective bullets? I want you to tap in here, tune in, because this part is important. So it's really a two-step process. Think of your most memorable or significant prior experiences, anything that you're proud of, big or small. I don't care. I really just want you to think of something that is meaningful to you and that you get excited about, just excited to just talk about. That's really the most important thing. So any memorable or significant experience to you, prior work experience, internship, volunteer experience, etc. I want you to think about it, and then think about how this prior experience relates to sales or revenue. So either making the company money or saving them money, or tie in that prior experience to one of the key traits listed below. And these traits are really important. This is what every team looks for. So these are the universal key traits that every SDR team is looking for. And if you can tie into these traits in your messaging, you're gonna get a response where essentially it's almost like feeding candy to a baby. Like, it's gonna attract them. They're gonna respond. And all you have to do is relate your prior experiences back to these traits. And so these traits are coachable, positive attitude, self determination, team player, and concise. If you can portray these in that email, you're going to get a response. And so by writing the bullets in this fashion, we appeal to the immediate needs of the hiring team and provoke a response. Don't take my word for it. This is the results that me and my students get. It works. Again, we are intentionally writing the language and writing the message in a certain way that will hook the hiring team. It'll be like, what's the saying? Music to my ears, right? This is the way that you get them to respond. And as you can see here, the director of sales development, we reached out to the director of sales development, and he's like, look, I really appreciate the approach. You stood out, and this is exactly what we look for. Here's the recruiter. Let's set up the interview. Boom. And so, how do you do this? Here's how. Here are examples of effective bullets. Again, the formula is that we want to give them the trait. We want to literally tell them, give them our talk about our prior experiences and tie it back to the trait, and then we prove it with a quick story. And make these bullets enticing, intrigue them. Don't be afraid to brag. I don't need you to write tons and tons of content here. These don't need to be long paragraphs or long bullets. A simple, short yet punchy sentence will get the job done. And so here are just a few examples. You should hire me because, quote, I'm a team player. For example, when we hired 10 employees last Christmas at my last company, I made sure to help them ramp up as quickly as possible so we could hit our revenue goals. Or, boom, top three sales rep on the team. Last year, I brought in over $400,000 in sales, and I'd like to bring that same energy to your team. We're talking about the sales aspect, right? Persuasive. I knew how to successfully handle the most difficult objections, and I was known for succeeding on that. And I'd like to apply this to the B2B world. I'm coachable. I was on the brink of losing my last job, and then I sought out mentorship, and I ended up finishing number two on the team. And so, boom, you're essentially talking about how you're a team player. You're talking about how you are positive. You're talking about how you're a top performer, how you're coachable. You're tying it back to the key traits. And when you do that in your bullets, you're going to get the response. So I just literally copy and pasted those bullets from the previous slide. I put them here. And look at how good this email turns out. Hey, Joe, we haven't met. My name is Pedro. I'm looking to land an interview for your SDR role at Tesla. I'm emailing you today because I noticed on LinkedIn that you're leading the SDR team. I already submitted my application, but I'm looking to expedite things, hence my email. Here's a couple bullet points about me and where I think I can add some value to your team. I was the top three sales reps on the team. I brought in over $400,000, and I'd like to bring that same energy to your team. I'm coachable. I was on the brink of losing my job, and then I ended up finishing number two on my team. Lastly, I'm a team player. Again, when we hired 10 employees last Christmas, I was the one that trained them so that we could hit our revenue goals. I know things are hectic, but are you guys still hiring? I'd love to connect with the recruiter if you don't mind pointing me in the right direction. Attached is my resume. Thank you, Pedro. Notice how good you come across in this email when you can not only explain your past experiences well, but you can also tie them back to what is important to the SDR manager, who's ultimately going to be your boss and who ultimately has the decision making power here in this hiring process. You're gonna get a response, and so I want you to craft your bullet points, tie them back to the key traits. Trust me, this stuff works. So in practice, how is this going to look? Because we are going to be doing this for pretty much every application. And so we're going to go ahead and submit your newly revamped achievement-driven resume to every application. Immediately after you submit your application, I want you to send a LinkedIn connection request to the SDR manager and the recruiter on LinkedIn. And then right after you send that LinkedIn connection request to both of them, go ahead and send them this email that you just wrote for yourself and explaining why they should give you an interview. And look, if you don't hear back, that's okay. That's actually perfectly normal. Remember, these people are busy and they're getting blown up by applications left and right. And so it's very normal to send a follow-up email 3 or 4 days after. I'll have it on the template on the Google Doc. And so you just send them a follow-up email. And this is how we skip the line and land more interviews. And then we just repeat this over and over. You use the same cold email for the link for the recruiter and for the SDR manager. You just start copy and pasting it. Once you create your bullet points, you can copy and paste that same email across all of your applications, across all companies. And so, yes, this is high volume. Look, this is a lot of work. But you know what? It works. It's been proven to work. And I want to explain just a tad more how this all works and why it works. But essentially what we're doing is by emailing and LinkedIn requesting both the recruiter and the SDR manager, we are essentially doubling our chances of getting a response. This is intentional. This is in the business world. This is called multi-threading. And so, for example, the reason why multi-threading is important is because let's say that the recruiter is out of office and she is on vacation for 2 weeks. Well, if we take that into account, and so we take that into account by also emailing the SDR manager, or vice versa. SDR manager is out of town, he's on vacation, or he's traveling, or he's at an event. He can't get to his inbox this week, so we email the recruiter. By multi-threading and sending emails to both the recruiter and the SDR manager, we double our chances. Now, there has not been success. I've had clients test this where they'll email AEs, the account executives, or other SDRs on the team as a way to cut the line. It doesn't work. They just don't care. They're not the ones that have to fill in the role. They're not the ones that make the the decision in this hiring process. And so those emails end up just getting lost or not getting any results. This already takes enough time. I want you to spend your time and invest your time where it counts. And it counts by emailing the recruiter and the SDR manager. And so the multi-threading is very intentional. Lastly, I recommend doing 5 applications a day. And by cutting this job hunting process and doing just a little bit each day, it adds up. I don't want you to do, I mean, if you have the time, do it, please. But at minimum, I recommend that you're doing 5 applications a day. The whole thing, applying and sending them the LinkedIn requests and sending them the cold email. 5 a day can be completed in 60 minutes. And so it's a very manageable workload. So again, do 5 applications a day, do this entire process, and I can assure you, you're going to cut the line and you're going to get ahead. You're going to get the interview. I'll finish off by this because, this after this, we're essentially going to start getting into the interviewing and selling module where I teach you how to sell yourself. And that starts to become more important because you start obviously having to present yourself and getting in these interviews. This is the last step before we start getting into these interviews. And it's crucial that we are firing on all cylinders. And guess what? We are. If you made it this far, we are firing on all cylinders. We're coming in from all angles. They can't stop us. Period. At this point, we've submitted an application. We've delivered a killer resume that we took the time to develop and write in a way that makes sense for these sales roles. Then we did a tailored outreach campaign where we intentionally emailed both the recruiter and the SDR manager with very specific language that is meant to provoke a response. We also are doing LinkedIn connection requests as a way to get in front of them, because if they're not checking their email, they're going to be checking their LinkedIn. And so we're getting in front of them. We're forcing our way through. And lastly, we're doing the follow-ups. If we don't hear back from them after 2 or 3 days, we send them another message. We send them another email to get that interview. And so at this point, we are firing on all cylinders with high quality messaging and polished marketing. We're doing an exceptional job at marketing ourselves and truly differentiating ourselves from all the other applicants that are trying to get into their inbox. This is how we get ahead of 400 applicants. Lastly, remember to be persistent, patient, and professional in your approach. Again, this is a job hunting process. It's not going to come easy right away. You're not going to get offers right away. It does take time, but at least we're doing everything in our power to get ahead and cut the line. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.